the healer who forgot to heal why your wound is not your disqualification. Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Today, I want to share something with you that came from a conversation I had with someone who is changing the landscape of grief, healing, and resilience in ways that most of us don't even realize we need until we're in the thick of it. Dr. Brenda Henton-Price is not just a grief counselor or a spiritual guide. She is a force of compassionate disruption. She is making the world a better place by reminding us that healing is not a performance, it's a practice, and that even the strongest among us, especially those of us who hold space for everyone else, deserve to be held too. Her work is a lifeline for counselors, therapists, healthcare professionals, coaches, spiritual leaders, and anyone who has ever felt like they had to keep it together while falling apart inside. What she shared with me, what we unpacked together, is something I believe every single one of you needs to hear. Because the people who heal others, the ones who show up with wisdom and warmth and that steady presence that makes you feel like everything is going to be fine, those people are often walking around with their own wounds wide open, and nobody's asking them how they are doing. Nobody is giving them permission to fall apart. Nobody is reminding them that they too deserve grace. So let's start here with the uncomfortable, honest truth that even the strongest healers need and deserve time and space to heal. You are not exempt from pain just because you know how to guide others through it. You are not immune to exhaustion just because you have learned how to hold space. And you are not required to perform wellness while you are actively grieving, recovering, or rebuilding your life from the ground up. The wounded healer is not just a concept, it is a lived reality. It is ancient, it is cross cultural, it is woven into the fabric of every healing tradition that has ever existed. Shamans, therapists, spiritual guides, they do not become powerful because they have never been broken. They become powerful because they allowed themselves to be broken open. And then they did the sacred, terrifying work of putting themselves back together, piece by piece, soul fragment by soul fragment. Jungian analyst Marie-Louise von Franz said it plainly. The wounded healer is at the bottom of all genuine healing procedures. Your wound is not your disqualification. It is, when you honor it, the origin of your gift. But here's where we get it twisted. We think that because we know the theory, because we teach the tools, because we can recite the stages of grief or the principles of self compassion, that we are somehow above needing to actually live them ourselves. We think that our knowledge protects us, that our training exempts us, that our calling means we do not get to be human. And that, my loves, is a lie. Let me tell you about David Kessler. David is one of the most respected grief educators in the world. He has spent decades teaching people how to navigate loss, how to honor their pain, how to find meaning in the midst of mourning. And then life handed him his own devastating losses, the death of his son, the death of people he loved deeply. And suddenly, the man who taught grief had to live it in real time in public while still holding space for others. And you know what he said? He said that grieving is so important in such an important process when we are in loss. He said that grief is a beast because it brings up everything, every emotion. He did not pretend he had it all figured out. He did not perform strength. He leaned into the process he had been teaching and he let himself feel it all. He created space where grief could be explored in community, where both he and the people he was teaching could be honest about the rawness, the messiness, the nonlinear nature of mourning. David Kessler showed us that you can continue to serve while authentically acknowledging pain, that you can be a grief professional and still be grieving, that the expectation of polished performance is not only unrealistic, it is harmful. It keeps us stuck, it keeps us performing, and it keeps us from actually healing. He developed trainings for professionals addressing traumatic losses, suicide, peer death, and the disenfranchised grief that can follow. He authored books and resources that help millions understand grief as a multifaceted process, not a linear checklist. He expanded the public conversation around grief to include spiritual, social, and psychological dimensions, validating the full range of human responses to loss. He influenced how therapists, counselors, and healthcare providers conceptualize and support grief, helping them recognize and tend to their own pain as well as that of their clients. He contributed to the broader understanding that continuous grief work is necessary and legitimate, even for the experts, challenging the performance of strength culture among healers. Now, I want you to think about the ancient shamanic traditions, the ones that predate modern psychology by thousands of years. In these traditions, healers did not come from a place of pristine wholeness. They came from the edge of death itself. They underwent intense physical, emotional, and spiritual suffering that felt like total disintegration or loss of self. They faced illness, psychological breakdown, spiritual crisis. And in those moments, they had a choice: deny the wound, pretend wellness, stay in performance mode, or engage deeply with their own suffering, allowing themselves to be broken open and to walk through the darkness. The ones who became healers chose the latter. They undertook inner journeys to locate lost soul parts, symbolic of fragmented aspects of the self, and worked to restore wholeness step by step. They integrated insights from their personal trials into their healing practice, using empathy and experiential knowledge to guide others through similar terrain. And what happened? They emerged from the ordeal reborn, with all the capacity to navigate between inner and outer worlds and to accompany others through their own crises. They developed profound empathy and intuitive understanding of illness and trauma because they had walked it themselves. They demonstrated that true healing power arise not from invulnerability, but from the willingness to be wounded and to heal consciously. This validated the idea that healer suffering is not a disqualifier, but can be the origin of their healing gift when responsibly integrated. It provided a framework for therapists, coaches, and spiritual leaders to understand their crises as potential sites of transformation rather than shame. It influenced modern therapeutic thought about countertransference, self work, and the ethical importance of healers tending to their own wounds. It shifted cultural narratives around healers from perfection and performance to authenticity and mutual humanity. It encouraged professionals to recognize that their own healing journey is essential to safe, effective care for others, reinforcing the need to step out of performance mode and into genuine processing. Now, I want you to think about Dr. Dolores Krieger. She was a nurse, a researcher, a co developer of therapeutic touch, a healing modality that integrates intuition, compassion, and presence. Her work was not just about technique, it was about the healer's inner journey. She understood that you cannot move healing energy through others if you are not tending to your own energetic and emotional state. She emphasized that developing intuitive healing capacity requires personal growth, self awareness, and emotional integration. It requires you to recognize your own wounds, your own exhaustion, your own need for grounding and rest. Dr. Krieger worked as a healthcare professional in systems that often prioritize clinical performance over inner alignment and emotional processing. She bridged scientific research with subtle energy practices, which required courage, resilience, and willingness to face skepticism. She maintained her own energetic and emotional health while teaching others how to hold space and move healing energy through compassionate presence. She focused on the healer's inner journey, cultivating intuition, self reflection, and compassionate awareness as core components of the healing process. She emphasized that therapeutic touch is not just a technique applied to others, but a practice that requires self regulation, grounding, and ongoing personal development. She encouraged healers to recognize their own energetic and emotional states rather than ignoring them to perform competence. Dr. Krieger's message was clear: healing is relational, and the healer's own state is integral to the outcome. You cannot give from an empty well. You cannot hold space for others if you are collapsing inside. And you cannot perform competence while ignoring your own pain and expect that to be sustainable. She helped define therapeutic touch as a modality that integrates the healer's inner experience, intuition, compassion, and presence with outward practice. She inspired other nurses and healthcare professionals to attend to their own emotional and spiritual well being as part of their clinical work. She offered a pathway for healers to deepen their capacity, not just by learning more tools, but by engaging their own healing and intuitive evolution. She co developed therapeutic touch, which has been studied and taught widely in nursing and complementary medicine contexts. She authored works that place the healer's inner life at the center of healing practice, advancing a more holistic view of care. She helped normalize the idea that healthcare professionals must do their own inner work and healing to sustain compassionate, effective practice. She influenced generations of nurses and healers to value self care, self reflection, and intuitive development as professional responsibilities, not optional extras. She supported a shift from purely performative professionalism toward embodied compassionate presence that includes attending to one's own needs and wounds. This is what we are talking about when we say that healing is not a destination or a performance. It is an ongoing commitment to processing and growth. It is not about getting back to normal. It is not about looking like you have it all together. It is about accepting that life after loss, after illness, after starting over will be different. And it is about allowing yourself to grow into that new reality without shame, without apology, without the pressure to snap back into who you used to be. Grief experts tell us that grieving is not a one time event, it is a continuing process. It surfaces everything, every emotion, and it must be honored over time. When we treat healing as a performance, when we act like we are fine before we actually are, we deny ourselves the space to feel, to rest, to be human. We deny ourselves the grace we so freely offer to everyone else. And that brings me to the third truth I want you to hold on to today. You deserve grace as you learn to live after loss and seal the soul step by step. Whether you are facing bereavement, health challenges, or a complete life reset, you are worthy of grace in every stage of the journey. That includes the messy parts. That includes the days when you do not have the answers. That includes the moments when you need to say no, when you need to step back, when you need to let someone else hold you for a change. Many spiritual and therapeutic traditions describe healing as a gradual integration of lost parts of the self. It is a process of returning to wholeness, not snapping back to who you once were. You are not the same person you were before the loss. You are not the same person you were before the diagnosis. You are not the same person you were before everything fell apart. And that is fine. That is more than fine. That is the truth of transformation. Extending that same compassionate grace to yourself is not selfish, it is foundational. It is what allows you to continue serving others from a place of authenticity instead of burnout. It is what allows you to be a healer without becoming a martyr. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to schedule and honor intentional time for your own healing, processing, and rest with the same seriousness you give to appointments with clients or patients. Set aside a weekly soul check in where you journal, pray, meditate, or simply allow yourself to feel what you have been carrying without needing to fix it immediately. Say no to one extra commitment this week and instead use that time to grieve, to reflect on recent losses or health challenges, or to gently envision the new life you are creating. Choose one principle you often share with others, like self compassion, boundaries, or giving yourself grace, and intentionally apply it to your own situation for the next 30 days. Stop only performing strength. Start living your healing. Treat your inner work as non negotiable, not as something you do only after everyone else is taken care of. Because here is what I know to be true: you are allowed to be both a healer and a human who needs healing. You are allowed to drop the cape. You are allowed to redefine what strength looks like in your life. You are allowed to embrace softness, to protect your peace, to rest without explanation. You are allowed to heal in real time, messily, imperfectly, beautifully. Your soft girl era is not about abandoning your calling. It is about honoring it in a way that honors you. It is about shifting from constantly grinding to finally grounding in joy, peace, softness, and self prioritization. It is about unlearning survival and rediscovering the sacred art of being held, being soft, being whole. Dr. Brenda Henton-Price reminded me, and I am reminding you, that grief and loss require intentional, ongoing processing, not performance. That healers must honor their own healing, and that you deserve grace to rebuild a new life after every life altering challenge. So today, right now, I am giving you permission to feel, permission to rest, permission to be human, permission to heal at your own pace, in your own way, without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. You are not alone in this. You are seen, you are held, and you are worthy of every ounce of grace you have ever given to someone else. Now, here's your assignment. Before this weekends, I want you to do one thing that scares you because it requires you to choose yourself. Cancel something, reschedule something, say no to something. And in that space, I want you to sit with your own soul and ask, what do I need right now that I have been too afraid, too busy, or too conditioned to ask for? And then I want you to give it to yourself, not because you have earned it, not because you have checked all the boxes, but because you are human, and that is enough. Stop waiting for permission from a world that will never give it. Stop waiting until everyone else is okay. Stop waiting until the grief is gone, until the wound is invisible, until you look like the version of strong that everyone expects. Start now, heal now, rest now, be soft now, because the world does not need another exhausted healer performing strength. The world needs you, whole, rested, and real. And that version of you, she is worth fighting for. She is worth protecting. She is worth every boundary, every no, every moment of sacred rest. Welcome to your soft girl era. Welcome to the life where you finally choose yourself, not out of burnout, but out of reverence. Now go live it.